Okay then guys and girls, today's lesson we're going to be fitting a brand new Evans drum head and I'm going to be teaching you how to tune a snare drum. Let's get into it. Okay then guys, so if you're just following the tuning part of this, all you need is 2 keys. You can do it with one, just makes it a lot easier with 2 because you can make sure you can turn them at exactly the same time. It helps with the tuning. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the bottom head. Now, with the bottom heads, they are very, very thin. Never put one of these on the top of your head, on the top head of the snare. You will go through it straight away, first hit guaranteed. So what we're going to do is, just going to loosen it right off. So I'm going to start from scratch for you guys. So this is pretty much a brand new snare drum. I played it a couple of times. It's a DW solid steel snare. Weighs an absolute ton. Nice and loud, nice and punchy, great for rock music. I'll be using it this afternoon. I've got a friend coming round to do some basically to do some covers, have a little bit of a jam. Good guitarist by the name of Gibraltar. We call him Trigger. And yeah, so you'll be able to see me playing this a bit later on with him, and we're just gonna have some fun. Okay, so you want everything nice and loose. Okay, so all these you can turn, so all, okay, so everything's nice and loose, no sound at all. With this, you can throw the snares off before you start, okay? So we're going to do everything finger tight. Now, we're going to work round clockwise, doing the opposites at the same time. So we're going to go around like this, clockwise, making sure that all these are finger tight, okay? Once you go around once, just go around again, just double check, because on the ones that we do first will become looser. So go around again, just making sure I can't get any more turns on anything. Okay, so all those should be roughly the same tension. Now, it doesn't really matter too much on the bottom head about getting the same tone because it's going to be so tight in your way, it won't really make that much difference. But we're going to try and keep them as in tune with each other as possible. So at every point on the lug, we want it to be roughly the same tension so we get the same tone coming out throughout, okay? So we're going to start, as I said, so these are finger tight. So we're just going to do a whole half turn on every lug. That was a bit looser, see? Whole half turn on every lug as we go around. Okay, remember, keeping it clockwise. As you see, this is why it's a lot easier using 2 keys. Okay, and then back to the start. So once again, so with the snare head, you can basically go as tight as you want. It's very hard to break these. I find the lugs will generally break beforehand. What I should have mentioned was, if you're working on an old snare drum, you want to re-lube the tension rods. Okay, so you can either buy lug grease, and dip it in just a little bit at the start before you start tightening. What that does, it allows the tension rod to move freely within the lug. It will save you splitting the lug, save any damage, because as I said, the screws will go normally before the head goes. It also helps with tuning as well, because it will allow us to get an even tension throughout, because it will be easier to turn. If you've got some that have run out of grease and some that are greased, obviously the greased ones are going to turn a lot easier, so you think the same tension's on them, but they're not. Okay, so as I said, this is a new snare drum, so I don't need to pre-grease them, but if I was changing an older snare drum, I would do. Okay, so once again, we're going to do another full half a turn. Just tightening up the whole drum. As I said, as you can see, it would take a lot longer if we just had 1 key. Doesn't matter, you can use 1 key, but it just takes a lot longer. Okay, so there we go. So we've got 2 full half turns, and I'm going to go probably another half again. So I feel it's starting to get quite tight now. And you will start to hear it crack a little bit, that's okay, it's just the head settling in. Okay. So I'll probably take it up just a little bit more than that, so maybe just a quarter turn on everything. Okay, so where the bridge is, where the snare head, where the snare actually meets the skin, you want those to be a little bit tighter than you do the others. So we're just going to give those a little quarter turn. And it just helps the snares sit a little bit better on the head and will give a better sound. So quarter turn them. So I think I've done two full turns and then a half on them. Okay, so as you can hear, the snares are already buzzing. That is really tight, as you see. If I push, I don't know if you can see, but as I push it down, it hardly moves. Okay, so we knock the snares back on, and we'll turn over for the top head. So this thing weighs an absolute ton. Okay, so I do have a head on here. So what I'm going to do is quickly rip this off, and then I'll get the new Evans head out. We can have a little look at that, and then we'll get it on. So always try, I mean, I'm going to reuse this head because it's not too old. As I say, it's quite a new snare drum. So we're going to take it down slowly on each of the points, so not to sort of stretch or disfigure the head. So just going to slowly bring it down on each point. As I said, work round clockwise when you're doing it up. When you're loosening it, it doesn't really matter too much. I'm just doing this for speed. Okay, right, so they're all pretty much loose. So then you can whip these off with your fingers. So I'll fast forward this bit and then we'll get to the next part of the video. Right then guys, so head's ready to come off. I've loosened them all. Tip for you, when you take it off, leave the tension rods in place. With that, it's just easier. You just lift straight off and I can make sure it goes back on the same way and it saves having to rethread them all the way through, okay? At this point, if you've got an old snare drum with nylon washers and they've split, I'd replace the washers as well. But DW use metal, so steel, so you don't have to do that. But plastic washers do stretch and break, so at this point I would change those as well. Okay, so I'll sit that down the way I took it off. And there we have the old head. So, see, it's nice, it's pretty much in good condition. So, there's no pimple marks or anything in that, so I will be putting that on my other snare drum. As you can see, the inside, all stainless steel, absolutely beautiful drum, and the sound is absolutely phenomenal. But you expect that from DW anyway. Okay, so what have we got to go on it? A new Evans drum head. Now this is the hydraulic red coated snare. So it's got a bit of water in between the two layers, just gives you a more dense sound. It's got a bit more attack, a little less sustain, a little less tone, but a little bit more brightness. So it's more like a dry sort of sounding snare. So, and the reason why I brought this, I'll show you now, is it's red and it's absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you can quite see the spots of water that are in between. and it is coated, so you can do brushwork and things like that on here as well. So it's not just a normal, like a tom head that's completely polished. It does have the batter on there. Okay, so we're going to fit that on. Make sure we get the logo at the top point, so it just looks nicer. Okay, and then put this back on the same way it came off. So I'll fast forward this up until the point where I start to seat the head. Okay. Right, okay then, so that's all pretty much on there. So I'm just going to finger tighten everything, same way again, working clockwise round. So here we go, slowly going round, get them all up to the same tension. Now on this side it does matter about tone, so you want to get them as close as possible to each other. Just going around for a second time. Okay, I think that's everything, all to the same top. Right, now some people do this, some people don't. Some people say you don't have to do it with the modern snare head, but I like to seat it. So the best way to do that is get your palms on it, just give it a good push down. It stretches the head a little bit and it helps seat it a bit more on the bearing edge of the snare. Okay, so from this point we're going to work round clockwise again, and we're going to do a half a turn. Okay, so that's one half a turn. So I'll just grab a stick and we'll see how that sounds. Luckily I had one on the floor, so already it sounds alright. Nice low deep snare drum. But I like a bit more crack to mine, so we're going to tune it up again. So I'm going to go this time a full. So I'm going to do a quarter, okay? So get a little tone to it. We also get a lot of overtone, so I'll probably take this up quite a lot higher. I'm just going to tighten the snares a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go up again, another quarter. Okay, there you go, so you're getting much more like a snare sound. Okay, as you can hear, I don't know if you can tell from the microphone, but you can tell there's a lot of volume to this snare. So we're going to go up again. So the best thing is not to rush this process. It will take you a long time to get to the sound where you want to. With a snare drum, it's not as easy as it is to tune the toms. It's probably the heart of the drum kit, next to the bass drum and the hi-hat. So it's the thing that you hear probably the most, and you can really get an individual style just from the sound of your snare drum. Okay. Okay, so that's quite cool. So that's probably, I'll probably leave it there in terms of tuning. Now I'm going to individually go around and just check for tone, make sure nothing's too much higher or lower than each other. So. You hear it's all pretty much, it's pretty good. It doesn't really need a lot of fine tuning. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. So what I'd say is, the more when you first put a new head on, when you start playing it, it is going to stretch. So you're probably going to have to fine tune it probably every couple of times you play. But eventually the head will sit down and you won't need to tune it as often. So yeah, I hope this was helpful to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll just show you what it looks like on the drum. Absolutely brilliant, absolutely love that. So yeah, so the next video you'll see on my main kit, I'll be playing this snare drum and we'll see how it goes. I would say I do have another video on tom tuning where I'll go a little bit more into the tone of each individual head, of each individual tension rod. What I mean by the tone, if you hit them, you're looking for the same note coming out at each individual point. I mean, I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but this one is a little bit lower. So what you do is you take this up a little bit. So basically they match, and the idea is to get the same note roughly coming out of all the tension rods and from about an inch in. The idea of that is if you don't, you get a wash of sound or different notes coming out at the same time, so the snare drum will never sound as good as what it can do. Okay, as I said, have a look at my tuning on the toms, and I will be doing a bass drum tuning session very shortly. Cheers, thank you, bye.